Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him." Matthew 2, verses 1 and 2. Part of the nativity story is the arrival of the Magi, who journeyed for 2 years following a bright star in the sky. Contrary to the nativity scenes we might have under Christmas trees in our homes, the Magi did not show up on the night of the nativity. Matthew 2, verse 11 says that they saw a child, not a babe, in a house, not a cave. Jesus was 2 years old when the Magi visited. The Magi also were not kings, as the well-known Christmas carol says. While there were 3 gifts offered by the Magi, there is nothing to indicate that there were only 3 of them, or that they even came from the same place. They certainly were not the Jewish leaders, which means they would not have gone to school to study about the Messiah. What is known about the Magi is that they studied the stars, and they must have had some knowledge connecting the scriptures and the stars, something that had eluded the Jewish leaders of that day. Hopefully we are all familiar with the 2 parts of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. There is another piece of scripture called the Apocrypha, a collection of books that supplement the Old Testament. These books are accepted by the Orthodox and the Catholic churches, but are not accepted by the rest of Christianity and do not appear in many translations of the Bible. One of these apocryphal books is named Tobit, and in Tobit 3, verse 11, we read, "A bright light will shine to all the end of the earth. Many nations will come to you from far away, the inhabitants of the remotest parts of the earth, to your holy name, bearing gifts in their hands for the King of heaven." This prophecy foretells the arrival of the Magi, and also indicates that those who were studying the stars were aware of a phenomenon that would appear in them that would indicate the arrival of the Messiah. So when the star they had studied appeared, the Magi began their journey seeking out the king whose arrival coincided with the arrival of the star. The important word here is seeking. In order to find something, we must become seekers. And people who are seeking do not necessarily know what they will find. They are on a journey, perhaps a journey of faith, a journey of collecting knowledge, or just a journey of life and its experiences. Several young people in our parish, including our son, are seeking admission to college. They know in general what happens in college. You go to school, choose a course of study, work toward a degree, learn about yourself, and get more independent while having some fun and making memories along the way. Everyone who goes to college is seeking in some way. They don't just go, sit on a bench, look at their watch, and hope it ends soon. They don't just go to class once a semester or just show up for the final. The seeking of study, career, independence, and memories happens on a daily basis. Perhaps the thing we need to think about this Christmas season and into the new year is the idea of becoming a seeker when it comes to our Christianity. The Magi followed a star for 2 years. Let's put ourselves in their journey. It is roughly 3,000 miles to cross our country. If you allotted 2 years for the journey, that would be 5 miles a day. You might think that wouldn't be hard. Just hike on the interstate and stay on I-10, the southern route, so there isn't the high elevation change you get in the northern part of our country in the Rocky Mountains. Except that there were no paved highways back then, and there were probably significant mountains to climb. Their animals would have needed rest. There were no restaurants along the way, so hunting for food would have been part of the journey. 2 years for 3,000 miles is probably accurate. For those of us who have driven across the country, there are stretches of road that seem like they will never end, and that's just driving for a few hours. Imagine covering several hundred miles, and it takes months to do it. It is not hard to imagine that boredom would set in. Certainly doubt would set in. I mean, think about these people who set on this journey, leaving home, family, country, and comfort for a journey they did not know where it would lead. Yes, they had the same goal and this ideal of the star leading somewhere. There must have been doubt. Maybe we should turn back. There might have even been some despondency. What are we doing out here? There would have been fear, I'm sure. I would be afraid to hike across America. Heck, I'd be afraid to hike across Florida. There are wild animals out there, as well as criminals. Yet Matthew 2:10 says, when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy, which means they kept their eye on the star. They let themselves be guided by it. They checked in with it every night, and they kept it in front of them. If it was on their side, if they had changed direction so that it was not in front of them, they corrected their course so it was in front of them. As we approach the Feast of the Nativity this week, let us put ourselves in the position of the Magi. We must become seekers. We must identify the star. We must keep our eye on the star. And just like the college students whose seeking of an education must occur on a daily basis, we must seek knowledge of God on a daily basis. We will not find it if we are not seeking it. This journey to salvation is long. It is difficult. It is slightly different for each person. There are setbacks. There are mountains to climb, some strenuous, some even treacherous. Some nights are cloudy, and perhaps we can't see the star. It feels like God might be absent. Sometimes the journey is so hard that we become despondent, want to turn back, wonder why we even started in the first place. Going back to the example of the college student, a student doesn't drop out of college just because he or she gets a bad grade or because they don't like their course of study. Changing majors and working to do better are part of the college experience for many. Just like falling in the Christian journey is part of the experience for many. If there is no guide in life, then the journey goes nowhere. Lots of people have no guide, no goal. Some of them are sitting on street corners while life just passes them by. As for those who have guides, those guides vary. Some are guided by the idea of being in power. They seek to climb the corporate ladder. Some people are guided by money. Life is a series of constant investments and constantly reviewing them. Some people are guided by fun. That old song, "Everybody's Working for the Weekend," comes to mind. It's a work hard, play hard mentality. And hopefully many people are guided by Christ. They come to a point where they realize there is a presence in the world that is greater than us, a purpose in the world that is deeper than us, and a destination that is unlike anything we can comprehend. Every time the Magi were in doubt, they looked up and saw the star and reclaimed their joy, because their joy didn't come from looking around, it came from looking up. That doesn't mean that the Magi didn't have some fun along the way, that they didn't enjoy the beauty of nature or the camaraderie around a campfire. It means that they had a purpose, a goal, and a guide at all times and in all places. As we approach this week's celebration of the Nativity, let's put ourselves in the position of the Magi. Let us see ourselves not as achievers, workers, travelers, or even revelers on this road of life, because at some point the achieving, the working, the traveling, and the revelry will end, and then what? Let us see ourselves as seekers, and let us come to Christ and the church, not because we have all the answers, but because we are seeking a greater knowledge of Christ and of the ultimate destination, salvation. One more thought, and that is about puzzle pieces. If you've ever put together a puzzle, there are several steps one needs to take before any of the pieces come together. First, one needs to empty the box. Second, one needs to turn all the pieces over. Third, one needs to separate the pieces. I usually put the edge pieces together first. Fourth, one needs to study the picture on the puzzle box so that the pieces can be arranged by color. Fifth, one generally puts the edges together first, and only then does one work on the middle of the puzzle. If it takes an hour or two to put a puzzle together, probably 15% of the working time is just on the first 5 steps. The puzzle comes together quickly, more at the end. Christianity works in the same way. Christ gives us all the pieces we need to get to him and to his heavenly kingdom. Some of us are sitting in church and we're bored. I get that. We aren't connecting pieces, and perhaps that is because we haven't emptied the box or turned the pieces over. Perhaps we haven't studied the picture on the box, so we don't even know what we're building. If none of the pieces are coming together, maybe we haven't done the prep work. And if the pieces are coming together, but slower than we hope, just keep putting the pieces in, and like it goes with the puzzle, eventually the work will pick up speed and the puzzle will be finished. Taking 10 random pieces of a 500-piece puzzle out of the box and trying to make sense of them is a pointless exercise. Just like trying to make a strong connection with God when you're only seeking him once or twice a year or only in times of crisis is a pointless exercise. As another Christmas comes and goes this week, come as a seeker, study the puzzle box, and try to fit a few more pieces in. Stop being so focused on looking around and keep looking up at the star. I have encouraged people to put themselves into the nativity story because in some way this story is our story still 2,000 years later. As I look at the nativity story this Christmas, I definitely see myself from the perspective of the Magi. I'm trying to keep my eyes on the star even though there are a lot of distractions. I'm confused as to why I can't see the star each night while so many nights feel cloudy and don't offer a good view of it. I haven't turned around, but I have been tempted to. And when I actually focus on the star like the Magi, I am filled with great joy. The problem is the distractions all around and the setbacks that cause me to lose focus. The answer is right there for me and for you. And it's to keep looking up and to keep following, as the carol says, over field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. The picture on the box, or in this case the Bible, is a beautiful one. We need to turn over the pieces, study what we are building, and put the pieces in, recognizing that the progress might be slow, but the journey results in a completed puzzle. As for our Christianity, we need to collect the information, start building, and we need to keep going, even if the progress is slow. Wherever you are on your journey, whether you are just opening the box, sorting the pieces, or about to put the final ones in, I wish you to keep your eye on the prize, to follow the star, and to be seekers. Matthew 2:9 says, "Lo, the star which they had seen in the east went before them till it came to rest over the place where the child was." Let us allow ourselves to be guided by the star until it comes to rest over the kingdom of heaven. Merry Christmas.